Hello everyone. My name is Jaehyun Kim, and I'm a postdoctoral research scientist in Dr. Chunhua Wang's lab in the Department of Biomedical Informatics. It is my pleasure to be here. Thank you. Today, I'm going to present our latest research and using clinical data to inform and optimize the criteria design for COVID-19 trials. Before I start, I'd like to thank CTSA and my collaborators. This research was sponsored by NLM and NCATS grants to Dr. Wang and our CTSA. As COVID-19 trials are being created rapidly, concerns regarding the robustness of trial designs have been raised, including insufficient power or sample sizes. One of the major components of trial is eligibility criteria. However, no study yet evaluated the influence of criteria on the representativeness of the COVID-19 study populations and on the efficiency and feasibility of recruitment. In the current practice, the process of formulating the criteria for trials tend to rely on human decisions. But now, with using data from real-world patients, we aim to develop a data-driven approach to inform sponsors in formulating the criteria for trials. To answer that question, we try to identify frequently used criteria in COVID-19 trials and evaluated the impact of specific criteria using EHR data, specifically the impact on the patient accrual and impact on composite endpoints, which consist of ventilation, tracheostomy, and death. Here's the schematic diagram of the study. It contains two main parts. The upper part is related to the criteria analysis. Two independent reviewers reviewed and annotated the criteria of COVID-19 trials. With this, we identified the commonly used medical concepts and criteria of interventional COVID-19 trials in the United States. As of June 18th, there were 301 interventional trials in the United States for COVID-19 patients. This figure illustrates how we annotate the criteria. Eligibility criteria are basically free text written by each study personnel, so we annotated each concept and values in accordance with the annotation model, which was designed to sufficiently extract the related information in criteria. Each color indicates a different concept type, including conditions, medications, lab tests, procedures, and demographics. With the analyzed criteria, we evaluated the impact of specific criteria on the patient accrual and events. The bottom part of the schematic diagram shows the core identification process. Patients with COVID-19 diagnosis or PCR positive results were regarded as COVID patients. They were followed up from the admission date until one of the events observed. These events were regarded as severe events according to the WHO scale. A total of 3,366 COVID-19 patients were identified from the Columbia OMAP database. The baseline characteristics of patients are presented in the table below. The composite events occurred in 17% of the total cohort. Based on the identified commonly used criteria, including age, pregnancy, renal function, and liver function, we estimated the joint influence of multiple criteria. The number of potentially eligible patients, the proportion of patients with events during the follow-up period, and the required sample size to detect 25% reduction of events were compared. The hypothetical trial with commonly used criteria was used as a reference trial. I tested different combinations of eligibility criteria to see under which set of criteria we could include more patients and observe more events. For age, tested cutoffs included 18, 30, 40, 50, 60, 65, 70. For liver and renal function, commonly used cutoffs were tested in finding the candidate set. With modifying the threshold for age, renal, and liver functions, more patients were potentially eligible to the trials, and more events could be observed during the follow-up when compared to the reference set of criteria. And the increased number of events allows study sponsors to decrease the sample size to detect certain percentage of reduction in event rates. In this study, we evaluated the impact of eligibility criteria of ongoing COVID-19 trials and the patient accrual and the incidence of severe endpoints. The adoption of certain values led to the exclusion of significant number of patients and events. Using the EHR data, we identified the optimal threshold for age, kidney, and liver function. For example, enrolling patients with age above 40 enables sponsors to enrich the severe events. With reviewing the eligibility criteria, patients with the following characteristics, such as pediatric patients, severe renal or hepatic impairment, were frequently excluded. In our data, about 25% of patients corresponded to at least one of these characteristics. Given the safety of investigational agents and small number of patients with these characteristics, it would be reasonable to conduct observational study or multi-site study for patients with these characteristics. With data-driven approach, we have shown a promise to improve understanding of the criteria and baseline characteristics of COVID patients. With this, we could optimize and provide rationale for the criteria, help sponsors to minimize the number of patients to observe the same number of events, and improve the efficiency and cost effectiveness of enrollment. Thank you for paying attention to my presentation. We welcome collaborations. I'm ready to take questions. Thank you.